Okay, so the topic of Joel Embiid and Jokic, it's been a topic that's been talked about a lot recently, and I'm seeing it everywhere. And I'm seeing Joel Embiid versus Jokic, who's the better center? And I'm just like, is this really that hard of a question? So I kept seeing the topic of who's the better center, Joel Embiid or Jokic, popping up everywhere. So I knew it was a topic that I wanted to talk about, but I really wanted to look at the stats before I spoke about it. And honestly, after looking at the stats, I don't know why this question is so tough. I don't know why this question is so tough. Obviously, they're both great players. I'm not saying they're not. They're both really great players. But when we think about traditionally what a center is, we think about what the center position is, and you think dominance. And if we're going off the word dominance, that's a clear choice of who the better center is. Joel Embiid. Like, Embiid's the better center. He's the better center for multiple reasons. But the number one glaring reason he's the better center here is obviously defense. You look at Jokic. Jokic is amazing offensively. Offensively, there's so many things Jokic could do. He's arguably the fastest big man we've ever seen in the game. I understand all those things. But why does nobody talk about his defense? Why does nobody talk about how, as far as athleticism goes, he has none of it, period, whatsoever. And that has to be something that you put into the equation when you ask the argument of who's better, Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic. You have to add in there that at the end of the day, the defensive category of their competition, Embiid and Jokic, you have to check that automatically to Embiid. So that's number one. Number two, what honestly makes this not so much of a tough decision for me is the simple fact that we're talking about a center. We're talking about the center position. At the end of the day, you're not supposed to be out here being the primary ball handler. Like, that's, when did that become a thing? Like, I understand the game has changed, but why, when we talk about the best center in basketball, why really shouldn't, that should not count. It really shouldn't count in this argument because centers aren't asked to do that. Centers aren't asked to be point guards. They're asked to dominate the paint, and they're asked to be a big body down there and play some good defense. That's what a center's supposed to do. And when you hear that, all those things just as well as Jokic. The only thing I'll give you offensively is, yes, Jokic does pass better than Embiid, but all the passes, why? Listen, guys, when it comes to passing, these behind-the-back passes, I've just seen Joel Embiid do a behind-the-back pass the other night. When it comes to all these flashy passes, when it comes to all these different passes that when we talk about Jokic, we talk about Jokic is a better passer than Embiid, we have to understand that how flashy of a passer do you want your center to be? If somebody's cutting, can Embiid make that pass? Yes, he can. It's two on a double team. Somebody's wide open. Can Embiid make that pass? Yes, he can. The necessary passes in basketball that need to be done by your center, Embiid can make all those passes. So does he have to run the offense? If he had to, I believe he could. So when you really think offensively with Joel Embiid and Jokic, Joel Embiid does everything that Jokic can do and more with the defense. Joel Embiid, when you want to talk about shooting, shoots just as good as Jokic. When you want to talk about mid-range, just as good as Jokic. When you want to talk about post moves, Joel Embiid has a better post arsenal, has more post moves in his bag. I'm not hating on Jokic. I'm not. I'm just being real. At the end of the day, I'm looking at what my eyes are showing me. If we want to talk about the next closest thing to Hakeem Olajuwon, I'm not the oldest guy out here, so I'm not going to make it seem like I grew up watching Hakeem Olajuwon, but there's YouTube and there's tapes, there's hardwood classics, okay? So I've seen Hakeem Olajuwon play, and Joel Embiid is the closest thing that we've ever had to that. When you want to talk about the footwork, when you want to talk about the shimmy, when you want to talk about left hook, right hook, when you want to talk about up and unders, when you want to talk about all those things, Joel Embiid has a better post arsenal than Nikola Jokic. And I'm not a Jokic hater. Jokic is a great player. He was the MVP last year. Jokic is an amazing player. I am not hating on Jokic. But I don't understand. This is such a hard question. I don't understand what people are looking at when they're really trying to determine who's the better center. The question isn't who's the better playmaker. They both play center. The question is who's the better center. Dominating the paint. Who can score on anyone? Joel Embiid. Who's stronger? Joel Embiid. Who's more athletic? Joel Embiid. And you want to shooting? We can go tit for tat there. It's a difference of literally 1%, 2% here and there when it comes to different things. But at the end of the day, when you talk about all the things that make you a center, when you talk about being dominant, when you talk about owning the post, owning that area being yours, when you talk about being able to score on any part of the post, any area in the post, talking about being a post presence, when you talk about being a defensive anchor, when you talk about all these things, Joel Embiid is that. Joel Embiid has that over Jokic. So where does all this Jokic love come from? And honestly, I had to think about it. Like, what are we watching here? When we talk about a center, how are you guys saying that Jokic is better than Embiid? So I had to really think about it. And honestly, I've noticed European players get so much love nowadays. Like, it's crazy. The love of these European-style basketball players. It's like, oh, a European's in the league. We have to talk about him. We have to make it seem like he's the next coming of Dirk Nowitzki or somebody out here. Like, it's crazy. Like, we love seeing a European that can ball. Next great European. And the fact that Jokic is European and he can ball like this, people are eating it up and people love it. But honestly, when you look at these two players, when you watch these two players, I understand Jokic is playmaking and passing the ball all over the place and really being a force. Like, you watch Jokic, he really can play. He can play his ass off, but he's not a better center than Joel Embiid. There's not one thing other than passing. You can clearly say Jokic is better than Embiid. You want to talk about handling the rock, doing step backs? That's Joel Embiid. You want to talk about threes? Nah, they both can hit threes. They both can hit mid-range shots. Both are honestly pure. Their shots look pure. When you look at them shoot, their mechanics, both of them look pure. That's night and day. Jokic has as good as a shot as Embiid. Embiid has as good as a shot as Jokic. But when we talk about the ability to get that shot off, if you guys have been watching Embiid right now, Embiid has been in his bag. Embiid can score on anyone off the dribble. Embiid is hitting out in and out, cross, step backs, behind the back, hard and step back dribbles, and it's like, damn, when did this guy get like this? And Jokic cannot do that. Jokic can't do those things. Everybody loves Shaq. Everybody loves the idea of Shaq and being so dominant, and Shaq being this dominant force that came into the league and just wrecked it. If there was no Shaq, Embiid would be that dominant force that we've never seen before. Why do you think Shaq consistently goes at it with Embiid? Because he knows this. He sees himself in Embiid. And yes, Embiid may paint sometimes. He may tend to shoot more times than you would want him to sometimes. Yes. As big as he is, you want him to get down low. You want him to get down low and bully everyone. That's what everyone wants. We all want Embiid to just get down low and take 25 post shots a game and hit all of them. Yes, we would love that. We understand. But hey, at the end of the day, that's not what basketball is. Basketball is a feeling game. You have to feel. It's all about feeling. You cannot force basketball. You have to play with a free mind. You have to play free. You have to just play. So at the end of the day, when we talk about dominance, when we talk about Shaq-like dominance, second coming of Shaq, if there ever could be that is Joel Embiid. And when we talk about a center, when we talk about what the idea of a center is, what a center has always been, when we talk about being an anchor, being a defensive anchor, when we talk about being a presence down there, when we talk about having every post move in the bag, when we talk about getting a shot and muscling anyone in the game, when we talk about being dominant, there's no way you put Jokic over Joel Embiid. There's just not. When I got the idea to do this video, I found out that these guys actually play the night after, so it's so funny. I know you guys may say, "Oh, but why are we looking at their 2019 highlights? Why don't the Jokic and Embiid have gotten so much better from there?" Hey, at the end of the day, this is the two latest matchups that they played, so this is what we're working with. And they haven't grown that much better from this point on to what they are now. They both were really good players. They both were all-stars at this time, so hey, this is what we're dealing with.
Murray's in the lane, lay it up and in. Here comes Nikola Jokic. And the stuff is good. 7 on the call.
Just when we talk defensively, Jokic just, you can't see Embiid. He's skilled though. He's skilled. He's a skilled player.
Still after it. Stripped again. Smaller man, he's doubled.
Alright. Come on. And that's what I'm talking about. It's stuff like that. It's plays like that that just cannot make. You will never see. If you see Jokic make a play like that, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck just happened?" You're not gonna see Jokic athletically defensively like that ever. And that's the difference between those two. It has to be the difference. That's the difference between those two guys. It's the fact that defensively, it's not even a competition. We're talking about a center. You're a center. You have to be an anchor. Every dominant center has always been an anchor. Every single one. Yeah, Jokic here with a nice three. Nice hands with Jokic. Nice hands right there. Like I said, both these guys have a pure shot. Like I said, both these guys have such pure shots. Jokic with the clutch shot. Jokic with the clutch shot. Denver took that one at home. Very competitive game. Very competitive game. Now this game, this is the December 10th game. This is the 2019. This is the second game that they played in 2019. And Philly's home on this one. Philly's the home team. There's just nothing Jokic can do against Joel Embiid unless, honestly, the only thing he can do to stop Joel Embiid is nothing. Joel Embiid has to miss in order for Jokic to stop it. And it's not the other way around.
The spacing at times could be an issue for this Sixers team.
Jokic, you can see Jokic kind of has to let him shoot those because it's like, hey, I can't just let him blow by me. He's obviously quicker than me, so he has to just let him shoot those shots.
Shot clock down to 2. Here's Barton on the cut. Barton, yes. Another one goes. Simmons goes at him again, kicks it. Porter was with him step for step. Dennis misses, and the follow is good. Not starting. And has hit some big shots here recently for Philadelphia. Here's Embiid. He knocks it. Embiid bowing again, just moving Plumlee out of the way.
Nice pass, and that's kind of what I'm talking about when I say passes that can be made. Those obvious passes when a double team comes and you can pass that out and you can make that pass. That's what I'm talking about. Get that shit out of here. The fuck was that? You'll never see, you will never make a play like that. Never, ever, 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 ever. If you ever see that, it's your lucky day because you're just going to fucking get rich and win the lottery. Play the lottery if you see that happen. Yeah.
Gets a little different. You know, it might have been a better matchup for Craig in terms of the personnel of San Antonio and Harris there.
On him. Horford's had a slow start, now a turnover. Jokic caused that turnover. Barton gives it up, and Jokic finally on the ball. On 4 consecutive trips down the floor. Embiid and Jokic, big body swap.
And you guys see that. Jokic is nothing down there. If you might as well put no one down there, you might as well put Steph Curry right there on Embiid, and You might as well have put Steph Curry on Embiid because Jokic did nothing right there.
And Embiid leads the NBA in post-up points.
Beautiful finish, nice finish. That was great defense, and he finished that. That's a beautiful finish on Jokic.
For this team, and conversely, Jokic, Michael Malone talked about that's their bugaboo. That is what is holding their offense
The
back.
shooting's not in there. The shooting's neck and neck. It's neck and neck. When I see Jokic and Embiid, it reminds me of kind of Vlade Divac versus Shaq type vibes. That's kind of what I get when I watch these two. It's like, yeah, Vlade has, passes and, that little that little European game that everybody loves and adores. But Shaq's just dominant, man. He's just dominant. He's just the force. You can't deny it. You cannot deny it. When you talk Joel Embiid versus Jokic, it's a tough question. It's not anything that's like, these guys are close. It's not, oh, Joel Embiid is just way better than him. But when you really talk about what one guy can do and if the other guy can do, when you ask yourself the question, what can Jokic do that Joel can't? There's not one thing. If he's asked to do it, he will do it. But when you flip that question, the other way around, the lack of athleticism points out a lot of things that Embiid can do that Jokic just can't. And it's so funny because when I got the idea to do this video, I found out that these guys actually play the night after, so it's so funny. So I'm gonna get this uploaded the night before. But hey, Joel Embiid's 4-1 in the matchups that they have, so I'm going Embiid. We'll see. It's a close matchup, man. It's not by far Embiid is better, but Embiid is the better center. When we talk about what a center does, when we talk about what a center is asked to do traditionally throughout basketball, which is be a force, be able to score at all positions in the paint, be able to own the paint, and be dominant, Joel Embiid is that over Jokic. Joel Embiid does all those things more than Jokic does.
Alright, well, there you have it. Guys, I just want to thank you guys who are still listening for still staying tuned and still listening to what we have to say. Keep supporting the channel. I know it's early right now, but you know that we're going to get bigger and bigger. And this is only the beginning. So, this is your boy Take One here. Thank you for those of you who are subscribed. Guys, subscribe to the channel. Just Take One Highlight YouTube channel. We're going to get this thing rolling. So you guys stay tuned in and yeah.